Okay, welcome to episode 6 of the podcast. It was actually supposed to be episode 8, but because I'm disorganized, it's the 6th one we're releasing. But it's just Mike and Lisa in today's episode, and they sit down and talk about training programming, their feelings on generic training programs, and then also adjusting training as you go, as well as their approach in working with 2 IFBB pros in Jamie Rego and Darren Farrell. The episode is about 30 minutes long, and I hope you enjoy.
So, training programming, I think it's a very individual thing, wouldn't you agree? So is that all I'm going to get out of you, is it? No, because I think there's a lot of generic programs out there, but one size isn't going to fit all, is it?
Well, no, I agree with that. I really do. But I mean, the thing is, though, I think it becomes more specific as the level of ability changes.
Yeah, so the more advanced somebody is. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, to a certain extent, a generic training plan is great if you're just getting into training, you're just getting into the gym, finding out what most things work, how it goes. And of course, I think that works both ways then for the individual, as in the participant, but also then as the coach, because you're starting to find out what people's abilities are. And also, but to a certain extent, I think the beginning and certainly the starting of training is more about the performance of the exercise. Once you've mastered the performance of the exercise, then you can make it a little bit more specific as well, but also to their goals, their needs, their abilities, their inabilities.
Yeah, but I think as well it's important when you've got somebody who's starting off training. Yeah, everyone talks about basics, and by that everyone means squat, bench and deadlift, which is cool, but I think you've got to experience a lot of different movements, because somebody can get better at those movements, but then also, as we've seen probably time and time again, like as an example, you look at somebody squatting sometimes and you think, we've actually said it to them, whatever you do, don't ever squat again, because it's just not the movement for them. Yeah, they might be able to do a different type of squatting movement, but like traditional barbell squats, it might be a shit movement for them. So, I think the more you can experience
exercises,
you've got more in your back pocket for later. But then, as you say, when somebody gets more advanced, then you're looking at being more specific to that person.
And I mean, the thing is, obviously, everybody comes into the gym for a reason, and it isn't. I've never ever experienced anybody that'll come to us or to either of us and say, "I've never trained before, but I want to compete."
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always the other way around. They get into their training, they love their training, they see how their physiques evolve, how their bodies, their mindsets change, and then they're thinking about competing and thinking about changing and taking up tempo, and that's when it becomes more specific.
Yeah, definitely. Or unless they're already a competitor and then they come to us, well, I agree, that's a different thing entirely. But even down to sort of the way somebody splits their training, whether they train 3 days a week, every day of the week, once a day, twice a day, frequency of body parts. Again, that's all very individual.
100%. And this is what I say with a lot of people, and this is where I differ to some, in as far as I said, I am 100% aware that people's lifestyles are different. And as much as they want to achieve, and I support that 100%, but if their lifestyle dictates they can only do 3 times a week, will you make sure that 3 times a week is everything you've got?
Yeah,
if
exactly.
They can do it 6 times a week, twice a day, and throw a cardio session in as well, even better. But it's
totally. I mean, everyone talks about consistency, and that's the secret. I don't necessarily agree with that, because you could be turning up to the gym every day of the week and just going through the fucking motions, whereas I'd rather have somebody that busts their balls 2 or 3 days a week. Well, they're going to get more results. So yeah, lifestyle, if somebody's got 2 jobs, family, etc., and they can only train so many days a week. Well, that's cool. You got to fit it around them, not turn around to that person and say, well, if you can't train 4 or 5 days a week, it's pointless. It's our job to work around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Around that.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is say, especially, not especially, because I mean, obviously, male and female are equally as committed to their families now as they were 20, 30 years ago. But as you say, it's very much about making sure that it's specific to them, specific to their needs and to their goals. And it's not just about bodybuilding. Some people, as you say, is very much about strength and conditioning for their sport, whatever their sport may be. But it must be applicable to them.
Yeah, I know, but also what you might find is somebody says, well, I can train 5 or 6 days a week, but then, so you might give them that initial training split and start programming their training to a certain extent, but it might become apparent after, whether it's weeks or months, it might become apparent that is too much for that person, and they might only have to train 3 days a week. But there's other people who can train.
I totally agree. But as I said, the thing is, then you will probably find that those are the people that say they go 5 times a week, but they go to the gym 5 times a week. And then all of a sudden, when you give them the training plan and the training program you expect from somebody that's now going on, that all of a sudden the 3 times a week, well, actually, I train harder on those 3 times a week and get more out of it than I did go into the gym 5 times a week.
Yeah, and it's
very much, as you say, you can write the best program in the world and the best plans in the world, but if the people are not willing to apply themselves to it, it's all shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like the paper is written on.
Yeah, 100%. You can have what looks like to be on paper the best program there is, but if somebody doesn't put the effort in, well, they're not really going to get the results. And then you could have, on the other side of the coin, there's something that looks horrendous, but the person doing it, again, form can be all over the place and, blah, 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 but, they're a bath of sweat. Well, they're going to get more results.
But if they put their heart and soul into it...
Yeah, and it's not about just blindly beasting somebody. Any silly bastard can do that, but it's making sure that the work is appropriate to them, the muscle groups or whatever they're trying to achieve, and then on top of that, there's lots of different variations of hard work. But I think, again, from somebody who's a complete beginner to somebody who's very advanced, the hard work is going to be different.
But also somebody who's a complete beginner is hard today. 6 weeks time they'll look back and think, oh my god,
exactly,
how easy was that now? Because again, you just get, and it's not just physical ability, it's the mental ability. The first couple of weeks are always that and the initial stages, and of not always fearful of what's coming, and that's good, that anticipation of what's coming. But once they get over that anticipation of actually realizing more than anything they're not going to die, they will be able to go out of the gym, they will be able to come back next week. And I'm not saying that's going to somebody who's beasting them, but just that first stage of 20 minutes on a stepper, 15 minutes on a bike, all of these things are brand new, and there is that fear factor. But once they realize that, they can allow themselves to welcome a little bit more, whether it's weight, whether it's time, whether it's another session, all of those things.
But then, so when we're talking about what we're doing with more advanced people, so looking at Jamie Rego and Darren Farrell, they're both new IFBB pros. We've both been sending their training to them pretty much on a daily basis, and we've had a few sessions lately, and hopefully there's going to be a few more in the run up to some more shows of theirs. But if you look at they train together, but I think it's starting to become apparent that and this is the thing that you've got to look at. Everyone's got different recovery abilities, recovery ability. So now we're finding that
even though they're training partners
training twice a day at the moment, those sessions aren't very long. They're short, sharp, and to the point. But we've straight away seen a difference in recovery ability, and that doesn't mean okay, we're talking about Jamie and Darren, but it could be any two people and of the same sort of level competitively. But so that doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means they're different.
Absolutely.
And so that now we've got to try and figure out, well, how can we still have them, because they enjoy training together and they push each other well, but now it's trying to figure out, well, how can we still have them train together but still, take into account our recovery ability.
But also, and I mean, all right, using those two as the example, Jamie, as you said, he spent a good 12 months with us, day in, day out, session in, session out. And it became, and not just a physical, like I've always said again, is the mindset. His mindset was always, there was almost an air of fear, but it was he had a die-hard attitude.
Yeah, well, it was like the session that we had, the first face-to-face session we've had for a while the other day, and Darren said I hadn't seen him like that before. He's normally sort of quite upbeat, and then it was like he came in and said, oh shit.
Yeah, and as I said, he walked through, and as soon as he walked through the door, it was instant back to him, that he knew he'd have to pull his socks up and he'd have to bring his A game. And then straight away, as he walked through that door, his attitude changed. And he went in, and as I said, he walked into the gym as if he was a boxer going into the ring.
Yeah.
He was going in for a fight, but so was I. Yeah, and that wasn't a case of who can win. This was a case of who can get the best out of him. And that's the thing. And as you say, it's easy to go in there and just shout your mouth off at him, but that's not our way.
Make somebody sick and all the rest of it. Great, and crawl out the gym. But you say, you're 100% right. It's about what you can do to get the best out of that individual.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, Darren, obviously it came as a little bit of a shock to him, as in, one, how Jamie's attitude had changed, two, the intensity of the workout, but three, the fact that he did not and would not give up. And I think that came as a bit of a surprise to him. So I think, in a way, this is where they're finding it a little bit, there's differences in them now, because Darren has got to find that mindset. He's got to find that ability to push himself a little bit further than he would have. And I'm not saying this in any other way, right? I was talking to another IFBB pro this morning, right? And when you become a new IFBB pro, which is absolutely brilliant, or a new pro at any federation, you are taking it to the next level. You've gone from standard 5 to standard 6 to straight to the 6th form or straight into university. There is no gradual, right? It's almost as if you've just gone from being an amateur straight into the pros and we've got to start playing for real. But you've got to do that development stage to go up into the pros. And for a lot of pros, and I think this is where Jamie and Darren are really going to do well, is because they've actually started to reassess, think of what they got to do to get there, are willing to push themselves to it. And to a certain extent, and this is what I was saying, speaking to another IFBB pro this morning, and it's not a stage of limbo, but it's a stage of almost to the point you train so hard and you work so hard to get that elusive card. And when it's come, it's almost as if all your Christmases has come at once. But now tomorrow, shit, I got to start all over again.
Yeah, and then you think they're probably in the back of their mind, it's like, oh shit, well I thought I worked as hard as I can.
Absolutely right.
Now the level has got to go up again.
And I mean, the thing is, we've seen it, that literally when that fight is on and on and on, and when they get it, you can almost see this, and I have literally seen it on the stage where the fire goes out in an instant. When they've achieved what that goal is, it's almost as if they're gone. So for the likes of Jamie and Darren now to revise, rethink, refresh, refocus, and now they've got a new fight, but they're taking a different journey to get that new fight.
Yeah, and like, talking of journeys, they're doing it really within the first couple of weeks and fucking travelling around here, there and everywhere. I hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I said, that's what the life of a pro is.
Yeah.
It is that sometimes out of a hotel room and...
Totally, because I remember, years ago, Tom Platt saying, if you love being in the gym, etc., well, stay an amateur.
Yeah.
Turning pro is a different thing, because being professional is about earning money, and these days it is about getting yourself out there, etc.
Yeah.
So you have to do all that and also step your training up.
Yeah.
So you're an athlete in the morning, or when you're in the gym, the rest of the time you're a business person.
Is it any easier now? No, it's probably harder, because social media it's saturated by so many fantastic bodybuilders, pro bodybuilders. We can find out what somebody's training as they're training. I mean, years ago, when we'd have to wait for a magazine to come out, there was no YouTube, there was nothing like that. So all we had, so to a certain extent, there was almost a little bit of a cloak of invisibility over them for a lot of the time. Yes, if they were in your gym, you knew about it. But if they weren't, you didn't.
Exactly.
Whereas now, I can see Jamie training in Dubai, I can see him training in Cardiff. It's a much more intense.
Yeah, so that's the thing. There's eyes on you all the time.
Absolutely.
I get it. And that added pressure can actually affect.
It can make or break somebody.
Yeah, your recovery, etc. And that's when you've got to take those things into account. So that's why, when we're doing somebody's training, we don't specifically have, I want you to do this for 4 weeks, have a deload, etc. So, when you're at the highest level, when you take a step back, your physique is actually going to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So you need to keep going until you need that time.
Yeah, but also, as you say, you can't give somebody a set plan for 4 weeks, because you never know what gym they're going to be in from 4 weeks to the next. And which is, again, is great for us, because it's keeping us active as well, mentally as well as physically, because we up our game all the time. And about, if we can do something, if it feels not necessarily good with us, but the tempos, the supersets, the exercises back to back, and things like that. So again, knowing full well where they're going to be at that time. Another one of my clients, high-level competitor, he's been away now for we're on to 12 days, and he's had to do with a hotel gym. But that's what he has had to do with, so that's what he's going to have to work with.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, people work away. People are not as fortunate enough to be based in one place all the time. I get it. So we have to adjust to suit that as well.
Yeah, definitely. But going specifically back to Darren and Jamie, it got to the stage where Jamie was like, you're going to have to do something about the training, because I think you probably know about this now, Darren. It was he's literally fallen asleep. We're supposed to be sharing the driving, and and he was falling asleep all the time. So, but we did say to him last night, take a day off.
Yeah.
But then I get it, it's that mindset of no, and he came back and he said, well, actually I did the session and it was good. So my thoughts at the moment are, because they're training together, is because I tend to, when I'm sending them the programs, as you know, it's do 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 sets of these movements. So what I'm saying is, probably what they could do is, as we know, Jamie's recovery is pretty good still at the moment, so we could probably do the higher end, where Darren maybe look at doing the lower end. And
I'm not touching training, but as I said, training, diet, rest. Yeah. So is it a case of look at my training, pull back on my training? Yeah, to a certain extent, but look at your rest recovery. Where are you sleeping? You know,
in the car most of the time.
Exactly, catching an hour in the car is not recovery.
No, that's not rest.
You know, and I mean the thing is, I appreciate at the moment they're travelling around, they're getting as much out there as they possibly can, and I totally respect that as well. But for everybody else, don't just think, oh, I'm tired, let me pull back on my training.
Yeah. So we get it all the time. So somebody comes into the gym and they say it's quite easy, right? They might be prepping for a show.
Yeah.
So that it's quite easy for them to blame the diet and the training, and then it's like, well, hang on a minute, you're working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
You've got a family, you've got this. It's usually the outside factors.
100%.
You know. So I said to somebody the other day that I did some training for, and he said, right, I'm just not sleeping. You know, he's prepping for a show. Like I say, I'm not doing his prep, but I just send him training. And I just said, right, if your sleep is crap, but even if you can just sit quiet and rest, right, you know, the trouble is what happens is you try and sleep. You can't sleep. It's all, you know, it's shit. Then you get wound up.
But but to a certain extent, and again, right, and you know what I'm like on it. Do yourselves a big favour. If you're resting and you're sitting quiet, put your fucking phone away. Get off social media. Again, you need to be as relaxed physically and mentally as you can. Mentally alert, you may as well just go and do some form of exercise.
Yeah.
You've got to take time and rest and recover. But the more rest you have, and again, that's not necessarily 8 hours in bed. If you can't get that 8 hours in bed, well, you can't get it.
Yeah, probably not many of us do these days. So, as you say, and look at, I mean, Ronnie Coleman, he was still working as a police officer for the first few Olympias, and, you know, I remember seeing interviews with him, and he hardly ever slept. But, you know, as you say, it's just having that time to sit sometimes, be quiet. Like look at what we do. We, you know, as soon as we get out of the gym, because the music's been blaring, you know, we've been in here 12, 13, 14 hours. As soon as we get in the car, it's just like radio off, silence. Yeah. And it's, you know, so I think, you know, it's a busy world. I think people need to do that. Don't just focus on sleep necessarily, but just rest and quiet. Yeah. How long did he say we got left?
8 minutes.
Oh, so we're doing quite well at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
Plenty to talk about. But right, on the two of them, on the boys. Now, as they're going through it, we spent a little bit of time with them over the last couple of days, and Darren came in, did a little bit of posing, nothing crazy. As I said, we'll hit it hard next time he comes. But again, just highlighting some weaknesses. And again, they're two totally different physiques. Obviously, Darren is quite a bit taller than Jamie.
Well, they're different categories as well.
Yeah, you know, but obviously then you see it's, again, even though they're training together, you've got to make it a little bit more specific, because obviously Darren's needs are slightly different to Jamie's. So it's making sure we highlight his, and again, I'm not saying this, but slight imperfections, because obviously, especially for the class he's going on, and all of the classes should be about symmetry, balance, proportions, conditions, all these things. But it's very much about making sure we're symmetrical, proportioned and balanced in as our own individual physiques. And we've highlighted a few things there that we can see that he needs to pull up a bit, whereas Jamie's quite comfortable in those areas. So again, it's making sure, even though when they train it together, it's slightly more specific to the individual.
Yeah, but also what we got to realise is these changes, you know, any change is going to take time. So that, like, Darren has got another pro show beginning of June. So in reality, we've got 2 months. So I mean, are you going to make massive changes? Well, maybe not. But you can make some. Definite changes with training, and
he's going to make changes because this is a totally different mindset for him.
Yeah.
So he will, and you know, and I mean, the thing is, as he said, he was quite, not surprised really, but he really was quite surprised at just little changes in his movements, of his basic movements, his laterals, his different couple of chest movements and things like that. it made a big difference to him. He felt so much more connection to those muscle groups whilst he was training them. So of course, if he can make sure he keeps that mindset all the time, that he's connected to the muscle group that he's working rather than just throwing the weight round, which is cool. But at the end of the day, as I said, they have a job to do, and their job is to sculpt the best physique they can for the classes they're in. And as a judge, and both of us, I've judged all over the world and done everything. I have never, ever, ever once asked anybody how much they can squat, how much they can leg press.
And this is sort of the issue sometimes with writing out programs for people, because in black and white, you might write down, right, I want you to do X amount of sets of squats for however many reps. But it's like, the squats might be fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
So,
I did it. I did what you asked.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're lucky in the fact that, this is the first time we've worked with Darren, but you say we've worked, with Jamie a lot before, so we know he understands what we want.
And when I give people training programs, and they come, we're seeing each other often, they come back and you think, I'd expect you to be a little bit more, all right. So do I question what they're doing? No, I question how they're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you say, if it's all well and good, as we say, writing plans out, but if they haven't got the mindset or the ideals of the exercise, again, it's not worth fighting.
The thing is, now we're starting to do, more training for others, etc. I think, obviously these days, it would be like, well, send me a video of you doing a few reps of whatever exercise, and then straight away it's like, oh, well, there's your bloody problem, So it's like,
we did a seminar for legs, and one guy was on there and he said, I just, it's my squat, and this was, and again, some people, as we say, dude, don't squat, but there was somebody else there, and he said he couldn't get over the fact that literally we just watched him, made a few little alterations, a few little movement changes, where the bar was and things like that, and he was flying, absolutely flying. But then the other guy that was there would have been quite happy to take him through various different flexibility movements, build up with this, build up with that, but not actually look at what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. So, but also, what you got to realize is when you're prescribing exercises or whatever for somebody, it's like, I know we've talked about the squat, but this can apply to any exercise. But I'm 5 foot and a fart, so I'm gonna squat. We've all got different leverages, different limb lengths, etc. So how I squat might not necessarily suit somebody that's 6'5", or even somebody that's my height, that's got different limb lengths. So, what you have to do is look at them, how they do a movement.
I can't squat like you do. I do it totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
But better, obviously. No. All right. All right, you got me on that one. Yeah. No, but, and as you say, this we train together. We train together, we do our exercises together, we do everything. Height-wise, we're only probably different for a couple of inches, but I just can't do it the way you do it.
No, I think that's the timer. So I think we've covered quite a lot in that.
Yes.
So this is perhaps one to continue.
Absolutely. So it's good night from me,
and it's good night from her.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, lads.
Okay. I'm not going to touch anything. I haven't got a clue.